because you guys have worked with a lot of greats and still do work with a lot of greats. But if you could collaborate and work with any artist from the past who's no longer with us, who would it be?
Oh, man. Wow.
I love how much thought you're putting into this.
I mean, I think to like I mean, I don't know why he's coming to my mind, but like Waylon Jennings, like, I think, I know some artists who really loved and admired him, but I mean, I think he had, the mindset of what kind of a new artist is. He always seemed to kind of forge his own path. He had a brand. We talked about branding, but it was always evolving. Obviously, had something to say, very much like Johnny Cash, didn't ever allow himself to be put in the box. And, I just probably feel like somebody I could learn a lot from, like that whole idea, that whole question about, how important is branding and how important is evolving and being transparent. I don't know why I think about, I don't know why I've thought about this a lot over the years, but when I was in high school, Bruce Springsteen had Born in the USA. And so, unless you're of a certain age group, you don't comprehend like what a gigantic record that was. Like, whatever songs are on it, like 8 of them were number one. I mean, it was just like, that album was a moment. And it established, he already had like a brand, but for some reason I started thinking to myself, what if Bruce Springsteen just made a different version of that album for the rest of his career? You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And I think his next record was like an acoustic record. And of course, if you worked at his big record label, you're like, hey, can you just make Born in the USA Part 2? Like, we can just sort of like change out the handkerchief in your pocket and like, can we do that again?
Yeah. We could do the Christian version of Born Again in the USA.
Yeah. And so but you look of like, he didn't make the same record over and over. And, I believe he is much more relevant today. I did work with Dwight Yoakam, and I think he was the same way. Like, he had this brand consistency and did it, but he just made the music that was right for him at the right time. And, he made, his biggest record with 1,000 Miles to Nowhere, on it was, I was at Warner Brothers. And then his next record was just a little bit more, it wasn't as mainstream country radio. It was still a great record, but like, when you work at the label, you're like, why can't you just give me a couple of singles that I can get on country radio? But I so respect what he did and kind of that mentality, because it's somebody who's thinking, like, I could cash in on this on my next record, but is this who I want to be known? Is this the sound I want to be known for the next 20 or 30 years? Or have I bought the opportunity through this massive hit to go and to go a different direction and still have all my people follow me?
Yeah.
And so, artists that think about, that think like that is, they're the ones that are, it's pretty cool to think about, artists who have, a frictionless relationship with their fans. There's a lot of people and handlers and everything in between, but they have this intrinsic, knowledge and you know, they all strike me as being smarter than me. So, you know, like what can we learn from artists?
What they have is an intrinsic knowledge of themselves. Like they're kind of true to themselves, and they're unapologetic, and they can be nice people, but they know what they want, and they know what music they want to make, and that's what kind of is the common thread between those, I think.
Yeah, and there's more opportunity now for artists to be successful being themselves and not trying to fit into a mold. So that would be an encouragement for a new artist of like, you know, there's only one you. You know, I work with a bunch of artists, but there's only one you. You know, find, you know, if this next song you wrote blows up and you're singing it in Vegas for the next 20 years, you know, make sure it's not like not a song that you wake up screaming, you know, you wake up hearing in your nightmares.
Make sure you don't
there
hate
is that
this
opportunity.
avatar.
There's that opportunity. Out. Yeah. I mean, you know, you do have the opportunity to efficiently reach a group of people that could actually pay the bills from you instead of trying to market, unless I can get 1 million people to love me, I'm not going to be successful. It's like, well, you know, you have an ability to find the first 10,000 and maybe they can get you going and tell their friends, and you can have a nice little business.